Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, a Raven who is also Brooke, and in today's video, I will be talking about how MAGA is a cult. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and to follow me on all my social media platforms, and remember that this is my opinion.
That's my opinion!
Nothing in this video I'm saying is facts, but I will be using facts to help strengthen my opinion, and let's just get right into the video. So we first heard of the term MAGA back in 2016 when Donald Trump decided that he was going to run for president. In that year, he ran against Hillary Clinton, who is the Democratic presidential nominee, and Trump was the Republican nominee. Now, MAGA means Make America Great Again, and that is not the first time that we have heard the phrase Make America Great Again in American politics. The first time was when Ronald Reagan first ran for president in 1980, and his slogan was, "Let's make America great again." And that is because at that time in 1980, the United States was going through high inflation, high unemployment rates, and we were suffering from a declining economic growth, also known as stagflation. Now, Trump claims that he came up with Make America Great Again back in 2012, and this is what he told the Washington Post. He said it came to him the day after the 2012 Republican nominee Mitt Romney lost the election, and he was sitting in Trump Tower mulling a presidential bid of his own. Trump liked the phrase so much he instructed his lawyers to trademark it. However, CNN reports a different story. CNN reports that in December of 2011, Trump bowed out of moderating a Republican presidential forum sponsored by Newsmax, saying in a statement he was not ready to rule out running as an independent candidate after The Apprentice ended in May 2012. His choice of words, "I must leave all my options open because above all else, we must make America great again." The next month, on New Year's Day 2012, reports surfaced of a group of Trump supporters who had filed for an independent party to appear on the Texas ballot, laying the groundwork for a potential Trump presidential bid. And the party's name was Make America Great Again. And that is just one of the many instances where Trump lies for absolutely no reason at all. Now, when it came to the slogan Make America Great Again, many people began questioning, when has America ever been great? Now, in my opinion, I feel like America is great if you are a upper middle class to rich white person, and even if people of color, even if you have money, you're still deemed expendable to many people who aren't people of color. So I don't really see that being a very viable factor in the first place. And I feel like the only time that white people see America as great is when there was racial divide, racial inequality, gender inequality, sexual orientation inequality. Just, it was not equal if you were not a straight white man, basically. However, when I was researching for this video and trying to figure out who the main demographic of Trump's core supporters are, the Washington Post had something very interesting to say. They said, white men without college degrees have lost their economic power. With the decline of strong unions and increased outsourcing, working class incomes have fallen over the past few decades. Virtually every other group, women, people of color, the highly educated, has seen an increase. In short, Trump's core supporters are being left behind by the growing economy. And Trump, with much of his campaign focused on bringing back working class jobs from abroad, and has positioned himself as a savior for this demographic. White male incomes have been stagnant since the 1970s, inflation adjusted, while others have climbed. And now going into the part of the video where I talk about the demographic of Trump supporters, it's very ironic that most of Trump's not even most, all of his policies go against helping working class rural white people. I mean, hell, just look at this big beautiful bill that just passed. And it's so, the irony is just too much to handle, considering that is his main demographic of people that support him, and they will make any excuse in the book to justify him ruining their lives economically. And I remember first seeing MAGA supporters back when Trevor Noah had his Daily Show, and one of his reporters, Jordan Kelper, I believe, I hope I said that right. If I didn't, I will put his name right somewhere on the screen. But I remember him going to Trump rallies and interviewing them, and just hearing, like, it's like they will say something that they think is facts, but then they'll be told they're wrong. But it's like their bigotry and their ignorance just gets in the way of them acknowledging the truth. And it's actually a very scary yet fascinating thing to understand about MAGA in general. You want to be so pissed off at them because you know they agree with stupid shit, but also you're fascinated because they agree with stupid shit, even when you put the hardcore facts in their face. They will literally pull shit out of the sky to justify. The option that people had for those who were part of the MAGA movement back in 2016 to now is that they're mainly unintelligent, low-income white people. But I also see another issue with people that support him are the people that are in politics, because they know that the things that he wants to accomplish are not only stupid, but very negligent to those in the United States. And the fact that they continue to support him back in 2016 to even now is actually insane. Now, back in 2016, here were some of the politicians and even prominent political commentators who supported him. You had Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Mark Rubio, Ron DeSantis, who himself is a psychopath, Mike Pence, who then became his VP, Ann Cutler, Greg Abbott, who again is a terrible ass governor, and Nikki Haley, who now has beef with him and wants to criticize the things that she helped endorse. And I think it's also very sad that these people used to and or continue to kiss his ass, again, because they want to help their own political gain instead of actually thinking of the reason why politics exists is to help the people who feel like they don't have a voice. But I digress. Now, back in 2016, when Trump was president, this was his main demographic of supporters. 53% of them were male, 42% of them were women, 58% were white, 8% were black, 29% were Hispanic, 29% were Asian, and 37% were of another race. As far as groups, the ages 18 through 29 was 37%, 42% were 30 through 44, 53% were 45 through 64, and 53% were 65 and older. Now, again, going back to what I was saying of how most of Trump's policies go against the people that are his main core group, during his first presidency, he actually did more harm to rural areas than good. And also going into his presidency a little bit deeper, we began to see a divide in the country that I don't think anyone had seen since the civil rights movement, in terms of just seeing the clear hatred that people have for people in another race or another gender. Now, with me saying that, I'm not saying that racism nor sexism nor ignorance toward anyone's sexual orientation ever went away after the civil rights movement. People just became more silent and more dormant with their hatred. But Trump almost gave these people a megaphone to now be more loud with their hatred, as people once were in the past. For example, when you look at the Charlottesville protests that happened in 2017, that all started because people were mad that in Virginia, they were going to take down a statue of Robert E. Lee, and many white supremacist groups then went on. There were protests on their own, basically protecting their whiteness. I mean, you had people who were part of the KKK at these protests. You also had people chanting a old Nazi saying, blood and soil, at these protests. And unfortunately, there is a man named James Field who ran through a group of protesters and killed a woman named Heather Heyer and injured 15 other people. And what made Trump look like a very vile person in this instance is that he didn't condemn the main side that started everything with the white supremacist groups. He basically tried to say, we condemn in the strongest possible terms his egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. And what was concerning about this is that he wasn't directly condemning the side that started it and the side that created the violence, because if he condemned that side, he would basically be condemning the people that helped put him into office then and put him into office now. And also the fact that Trump was literally impeached twice during his presidency. The first time was for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. And the second time was for January 6th, that we'll get into later, for inciting an insurrection. Also, during his presidency, many people who helped him during his first campaign were beginning to be arrested. You have former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort, who pled guilty to money laundering charges. National Security Advisor Michael Flynn pleads guilty to lying to the FBI about contact with the Russian ambassador during the White House transition. Michael Cohen, Trump's former personal lawyer, pleads guilty to 8 counts in Manhattan federal court, including campaign finance violations and criminal tax evasion. Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign manager, is found guilty on 5 tax fraud charges, 1 charge of hiding foreign bank accounts, and 2 charges of bank fraud. And President Trump's personal lawyer, again, Michael Cohen, admits to paying $130,000 of his own money to adult film actress Stormy Daniels to remain silent about her alleged affair with the president. And also, you can go back looking what happened during the when he did not respond well to it at all. He literally encouraged us to drink bleach. So we get to 2020, and in 2020, Joe Biden is now the Democratic presidential nominee, and Trump is again the Republican nominee. And during this time, Trump lost. Joe Biden became president from 2020 all the way up until 2024, and Trump did not take this loss well. He immediately began to speculate that there was voter fraud going on. And he didn't even speculate, he just outright said voter fraud is going on. He kept tweeting about it, and what made matters worse is that he tried to get other political counterparts to help strengthen his argument, and some of those political counterparts themselves have been punished for participating in this conspiracy that was never proven to be true. I mean, he already tweeted before Joe Biden was announced as the winner that he won and the counts weren't even all accounted for yet. He was saying that in swing states there were a lot of unaccounted for votes, and he was telling Georgia and Michigan that they had votes that were missing. He even made a statement saying, "If you count the legal votes, I easily win. It's a corrupt system, and it makes people corrupt even if they aren't by nature, but they become corrupt. It's too easy. They want to find out how many votes they need, and then they seem to be able to find them. They wait, and then they find them." And then he basically again talks about his concerns for Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and Arizona. He even accused the media of helping Joe Biden win the election. He then also filed a lawsuit against a county in Arizona for miscounting votes, particularly in-person votes. He continued to disclaim the Supreme Court, saying that there was no voter fraud happening in the 2020 election. And then he also blamed rhinos, which stands for Republicans in name only, for helping Democrats steal the same election. And shit really hit the fan when it was found out that he called Georgia's Governor Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, among other officials, expressing his desire to find 11,780 votes in Georgia. Officials in Raffensperger's office later leaked a tape of the call to the press, and then that is when we get into January 6th. So on January 6th, 2021, that is when Trump told his supporters that he was having a rally near the Capitol building, where he gave a speech saying that the election was stolen again and telling his supporters. And basically at the end of his speech at the eclipse, Trump calls his supporters to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue and to march right to the Capitol building. And after that is when all hell broke loose, and many of his supporters, including right-wing conspiracy groups, the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, and the Three Percenters, they all stormed the Capitol and they started injuring Capitol police, and they overpowered them to get into the building. And mind you, in the building was the Senate and the House. And at this time, suspicious packages were found at the Republican National Committee building and the Democratic National Committee building, and it was found out that pipe bombs were in those packages. Rioters then began to break into the Senate chamber, and they actually got in, and they're at the podium, they're doing the little gavel thing, they're taking pictures there. People began to break into Nancy Pelosi's office and actually got in, and people are just going through the hallways like it's a museum. They're also still destroying things, they're taking pictures saying, "We're taking back our country, this is our country." And a woman named Ashley Babbitt was killed also while inside the Capitol building. Trump then makes a video while all this is happening and says, "I know your pain, I know your hurt. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You've seen the way others are treated. I know how you feel, but go home and go home in peace." And as a result, 5 people died following the attack, including Ashley Babbitt. And to this day, there are still Republicans that do not condemn, or they'll just downplay what happened that day, that people actually broke into the Capitol building, a federal building. Now, during Biden's campaign, there were of course still people in Maga saying the election was stolen, and Trump was slowly beginning to gear up for his re-election in 2024. And he was still going to these battleground states again saying that the election was stolen. For example, in 2022, he was in Michigan, and this is what CNN reports. Paige Cole is one of the Anons. The mother of 3 from East Point, Michigan says Joe Biden is a sham president and believes Donald Trump will soon be reinstated to the White House to finish the remainder of Biden's term. His whole inauguration was fake. He didn't have real military people. He had like fake badges, fake people, and Trump is actually our president, she said while waiting in line for his latest rally on Saturday, wearing a pink Trump 2024 hat and draped in a I'm so sorry, but please. And draped in a large Trump won flag. Cole, a former Democrat who says she voted twice for Barack Obama, began to cry as she described the significance of Trump's return and the 1,000 years of peace she believes will be ushered in with it. It's going to change everything, she says, like we've never seen in humanity before. And all this goes back to me saying that this is literally a cult. Because how can anyone look at Trump and see him as a savior and see him as the best thing that humanity needs, considering what's happening right now in America and in the world? Now, for the 2024 election, that is when Trump and Biden were both selected as their respective parties' presidential nominees. And I would say that in early 2024, up until July, is when things started to crumble for the Democratic Party, mainly because of Joe Biden's alleged health decline. Now, it wasn't until the first debate that Biden and Trump had where many began to criticize Biden and say that he is having some type of cognitive decline. It was even reported that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi were urging him to drop out of the race to give the Democrats a better chance. And July 13, 2024 is when Trump's first assassination attempt happened while he was at a rally. And that was when we began to see polls show that he was in more of a likelihood to win the presidency over Biden. And during this time, Democrats were beginning to test the waters to see if the American people would vote for Kamala if she was to run. And they did notice that her polls were slightly better than Biden, but not significantly better than Trump's. And then on July 21st, 2024 is when Biden officially dropped out of the race and Kamala was then announcing her run. And then she was certified as the Democratic presidential nominee. And then on August 5th of that year, it was announced that Tim Walz would be her running mate. Now, one would think that because during this time, Trump was saying the most ignorant things that you could possibly think of, especially during that first debate. This man alleged that schools are doing operations on transgender kids, that people in Ohio who are Haitian were eating cats and dogs. He said that the prison population was so high in the United States because people from other countries are bringing their prisoners here, and that was then creating a high population. He said that he defeated ISIS and just many more things. And unfortunately, Trump ended up being president again. And when we get to today and how Trump's presidency has gone, mind you, it is only July. It has been 7 months, and America already feels like we're in a hellhole. There have been thousands and thousands of federal layoffs that have mainly affected Black women. There have been mass deportations of people who are also still citizens, and those people are being violently detained. There are kids being basically kidnapped in schools, and there have been many ICE protests, especially in LA. I mean, there were even officers who shot journalists at an ICE rally for no reason. And I mean, this man deliberately pointed at her and at her. This man has basically become a taco in the finance and political world because he keeps putting tariffs on countries and taking them off when he sees that basically the United States would be in a hellhole financially if these tariffs were to continue. He even has lied and said that he has talked to certain leaders that he has never talked to before. I mean, even if you look at Gavin Newsom, he's suing Fox News for basically alleging that Trump talked to him when he never did. He pardoned people that were literally a part of January 6th. The same man who loves to say law and order is not going to punish the people who broke into a federal building where highly elected political officials were, again, including the VP. He launched a military strike in Iran without getting approval from Congress while there is an ongoing conflict going on between Iran and Israel. And right now, he's very cozy and cool with the president of Israel. And he basically said that with these nuclear strikes, he permanently destroyed the nuclear sites in Iran. But it's being reported that it's only going to take a couple of months for Iran to bounce back from those strikes. He threw a military parade on his birthday, coincidentally, like some dictators have done in the past. His own Secretary of Defense literally had precious information leaked. The Secretary of Defense leaked precious military information. He didn't send his condolences to Tim Walz after lawmakers in Minnesota were assassinated by someone allegedly a part of the Maga movement, which in my opinion is very low class, low taste. Like, people lost their lives and you're telling me you can't put your differences aside with someone and just reach out for condolences? At least Joe Biden had the courtesy to show up to the services. And the big, beautiful bill was passed. The same bill that will affect most of his core audience. The same bill that will affect most of his core fan base. Because they are fans. His fan base, his cult, his voter demographic, whatever you want to call them. They're about to be screwed with this bill. Because in this bill, they're literally cutting Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP. Basically, anyone with a lower income is about to be screwed. And those people in the lower income are majority of his supporters, believe it or not. So earlier in the video, I talked about how I was going to bring up later in the video 10 ways that Trump actually screwed rural America, who is his main demographic of voters in his first presidency. And if you want to read the descriptions for each point, you can just pause the video and look at the screenshot. So the first thing that he did that screwed over rural America was by cutting the postal service, eliminating rural development as a federal mission, proposing draconian is how you say it? Draconian cuts to rural investments, siding with agribusiness against independent farmers, endangering meatpacking workers and consumers, sacrificing small and medium farms in its trade wars, leaving farmers of color in the lurch, robbing rural communities of their natural amenities, making rural Americans pay the price for the border wall showdown, and sabotaging essential agriculture, market data, and research. Now let's get into what we can learn from the cult called Maga. Now, one point that I have is that media literacy is dead, meaning that most of Trump's core supporters will not believe anything that is factual. They will believe it, one, just because Trump said it or a blog said it, not a credible news source. Because if you tell them that any credible news source said that this is true, they will not believe you. They believe a blog before they believe anything credible. And yes, I am including Fox News because I can make a whole separate video about Fox News and how I feel like they're more of a blog than an actual credible journalistic news channel form of media with integrity. So I list them as a blog. Like, it's concerning that they don't do independent research against the things that he says. They just blatantly believe it, again, with no type of evidence to back up anything that he is saying. Another thing is that people will literally let their bigotry, racism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism get in the way of them actually having rights and actually having survivable life. Because what do you mean that you're in support of the person who's putting in a bill that's going to ruin your life? No SNAP benefits, no Medicare, no Medicaid. Hospitals are going to begin to close. The United States would be in a literal deficit, $1 trillion deficit. I don't get it. Also, these politicians look very, very ignorant and very dumb. And all these politicians who voted for this bill, I hope that they are taken out of office in these next midterms next year in 2026. Because the fact that y'all are letting this man intimidate you enough to the point where you voted for something, where you literally have politicians saying, well, one, we're going to die anyway, so who cares? Telling serious citizens that they just need to go back to work and stop being lazy. Like, I really hope you do not have a seat. I hope that you are never a politician again, because some of these politicians are literally going against the same area that they are supposed to be helping, the same area that they are supposed to be representing and making sure has the things that they need and the rights that they need and the resources that they need. Is actually insane. Joking about being a Trump supporter is no longer funny. It was never funny. I think people underestimate the danger that it is to support him, because I truly believe if it was any other Republican president, freaking Bush Sr., even Reagan, even Nixon, I feel like no one would have such a disdain for people who support this man or who joke about supporting him, because not only is he ruining people's lives economically, but also and America has never been a country built on morality, but this man is making hatred normal again. He's making hatred a thing to be boastful about and nothing that you should be very cowardly about and ashamed about. And it's just concerning that people see a joke in it and that people have these stupid red hats. And it's just, even with the red hats, I hate seeing the parodies of it. I mean, even looking at these celebrities that love to gaslight you and say that they're supporting Trump because you should still support any president, especially black celebrities, isn't even like a slap in the face. It's just almost insulting to people's intelligence, because stop gaslighting and just say that you're supporting this man because you want a tax break, because you're getting paid. But don't try to sit here and say you want to respect the presidency when you're supporting a man who doesn't respect the same demographic of people that you're trying to get money from, and who basically funds your lifestyle. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's have a discussion in the comments as to whether you feel like MAGA is a cult. And remember to keep it cute, fab, and fun, and not to be disrespectful. And I will see you guys in the next video.